personally think it's absolutely insane how when you type in admitted college essays on Google, you literally don't have anything more than just a random compilation of essays. And hopefully that'll change soon. Today we're going to be taking a look at 26 outstanding college essay examples from 2020-2021 published by College Essay Guide. This link will be in the description below. They covered the precious mahogany coffin with a brown amalgam of rocks, decomposed organisms, and weeds. It was my turn to take the shovel, but I felt too ashamed to dutifully send her off when I had not properly said goodbye. I refused to throw dirt on her. I refused to let go of my grandmother, to accept the death I had not seen coming, to believe that an illness could not only interrupt but steal a beloved life. So far, a bit too descriptive, not too sure what the point is. I don't want it to turn into I feel sorry for this person and it doesn't really tell me what this person is as a person. But let's keep reading. When my parents finally revealed to me that my grandmother had been battering liver cancer, I was 12 and I was angry. So this happened when he was young. Mostly with myself. They wanted to protect me, only 6 years old at the time, from the complex and morose concept of death. However, when the end inevitably arrived, I wasn't trying to comprehend what dying was. I was trying to understand how I had been able to abandon my sick grandmother in favor of playing with friends and watching TV. Hurt that my parents had deceived me and resentful of my own oblivion, I committed myself to preventing such blindness from resurfacing. That was a really well-written paragraph. Not in terms of just its language, but in terms of how it pivoted from feeling upset about his grandmother's death into giving us a bit of insight into what he is like a person. I personally really relate to this feeling about being angry and hurt that I was not deemed mature enough or able to comprehend sadness or to comprehend loss, right? And that kind of helplessness is something that we've all felt at some time period, and this author really succeeded in conveying that in a paragraph, particularly this sentence. Hurt that my parents had deceived me, and resentful of my own oblivion, I committed myself to preventing such blindness from resurfacing. I think this sentence really cinches together what he's trying to talk about and makes me want to read more. I became desperately devoted to my education because I saw knowledge as the key to freeing myself from the chains of ignorance. Not too sure how this is super related to his grandma, but let's keep reading. While learning about cancer in school, I promised myself I would memorize every fact and absorb every detail in textbooks and online medical journals. And as I began to consider my future, I realized that what I learned in school will allow me to silence that which had silenced my grandmother. Interesting play on words, but also it's starting to be a little bit cliche. It's like the whole something occurred to you, like someone died in your life that wanted you to become a doctor kind of situation, which shows determination, but it doesn't really show anything else about the student, so let's take a look. However, I was not focused with learning itself, but with good grades and high test scores. I started to believe that academic perfection would be the only way to redeem myself in her eyes, to make up for what I had not done as a granddaughter. However, a simple walk on a hiking trail behind my house made me open my eyes to the truth. Over the years, everything, even honoring my grandmother, had become second to school in grades. As my shoes humbly tapped against the earth, the towering trees blackened by the forest fire a few years ago, the faintly colorful pebbles embedded in the sidewalk, and the wispy white clouds hanging in the sky reminded me of my small, though nonetheless significant part in the larger whole that is humankind and this earth. That was... I don't know how I feel about that. It's a bit much. I would probably dial that down a little bit. I would be a little bit more descriptive with the environment and a little bit less I am a part of humankind at the end, but that's just my personal opinion. Before I could resolve my guilt, I had to broaden my perspective of the world as well as my responsibilities to my fellow humans. You see, I get what they're trying to do, right? It's like multiple twists and turns throughout the story, but I don't know how I feel about that because we already had one twist at the beginning that spurred this person to look into their grades, but I don't see an immediate connection between wanting to help your grandmother and being obsessed with grades. You know, I can see how that could be connected in the eyes of like a younger student or someone who's a bit less mature, but that really isn't that flushed out. So I would probably either write it in a retrospective way, so either currently looking back now that was a mistake I had made, or during that time period, say something that will signal to the reader that this is wrong or this is going to happen. And then later on, have that same reasoning be rebutted by her walking in the garden or something, and then realizing that that is not the case. But otherwise, right now, I don't really see any tight connection between the two, so let's keep reading. Volunteering at a cancer treatment center has helped me discover my path. I feel like you've already discovered your path. Why are you rediscovering your path? Rediscovering your path, right? You discovered in school that you wanted to do like medical research, and then you rediscovered after like your walk in the park that you wanted to be a bit more cognizant of like your part as a whole, and now you're discovering the fact that you wanted to like do a cancer research, which I guess makes sense trajectory wise, but I wouldn't write it that way. When I see when I see patients trapped in not only the hospital but also a moment in time by their diseases, I talk to them. For 6 hours a day, 3 times a week, Ivana is surrounded by IV stands, empty walls, and busy nurses that quietly, constantly remind her of her breast cancer. Her face is pale and tired, yet kind, not unlike my grandmother's. I need only to smile and say hello to see her brighten up as life returns to her face. Upon our first meeting, she opened up about her 2 sons, her hometown, and her knitting group. No mention of her disease. Without even standing up, the 3 of us, Ivana, me, and my grandmother, had taken a walk together. I like this paragraph, but I would make some big edits to it. So the first thing I would do is I would change the order. The first thing, I would put, for 6 hours a day, 3 times a week, Ivana is surrounded by IV stands. That sentence, I would put that first. And then I wanted to drive home a little bit more about this idea that patients are not defined by their illnesses. They are humans and they should not be defined by this temporary, hopefully, thing that they are suffering from. Right? That is the kind of outlook and maturity that I think is good for you to convey. So I wouldn't start off with volunteering at a cancer treatment center has helped me discover my path. I would put that at the very end and maybe mix that path with you, Ivana, and your grandmother walking together, right? Because walking together on this path. I feel like that's a bit better. So I'd move that sentence towards the end. So whenever you're writing a paragraph, I always try to imagine how I can make this paragraph punchier. Try to make each paragraph as like tight and wonderful, make each sentence count, and then read your whole essay as a whole and make some edits depending on which parts are a bit too punchy and which parts are not, and then you can dial it down later. Alright, last paragraph. Cancer, as powerful and invincible as it may seem, is a mere fraction of a person's life. It's easy to forget when one's mind and body are so weak and vulnerable. I want to be there as an oncologist to remind them to take a walk once in a while, to remember that there's so much to life than a disease. While I physically treat their cancer, I want to lend patients emotional support and mental strength to escape the interruption and continue living. Through my work, I can accept the shovel without burying my grandmother's memory. I love this last sentence. I think it's very punchy. I think it's good. And it ties back to the whole burying a grandmother thing really well. The rest of the paragraph, I don't know how I feel about that. I think this way. The reason why I'm a bit hesitant about the final paragraph is because I feel like you've already mentioned what you wanted to do a bit too much previously. Towards the end of an essay, we want catharsis, right? Catharsis is like the release of emotions, some sort of closure. We want catharsis. You want to induce catharsis because that's the most satisfying way to reveal something to an admissions counselor. You're not writing a novel. You don't want the lack of catharsis to make people keep thinking about it. You want to effectively utilize catharsis in order to do that. So here, I would probably cut out mention of oncology a little bit more, or dial it down or make it a bit more subtle throughout the rest of the essay, and then maybe you could keep the final paragraph as it is. Or I would change the final paragraph by deleting a sentence, deleting the first sentence probably, and changing it to something else. Or you can get rid of, while I physically treat their cancer, I want to lend patients emotional support, and change that sentence to be a bit less like a job application and a bit more like I have changed in XXX way in a person. Yeah, so overall this is a great essay. It's very well written. I will definitely remember this essay for the next couple that I read. I overall think that it's done really well, and the way they picked the topic was expressed in a good way. I just also think that the language can be improved and can be made a bit more memorable. Comment down what you think about this essay and I will link this down below. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will keep on doing my essay writing series, so if you like it, go ahead and recommend this video to a friend and help me hit 8,000 in order to watch me edit you guys' essays live. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!